can talk also about tenders and how to deal with government contracts that they are ready and we cannot amend anything on them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So usually I send assumptions to the government,
Yep.
telling that we assume that you will give us the space to work. We assume that 3 or 4 or 5 assumptions. Then I'm shocked in the contract
Yep.
itself. There is contradictory there is clauses that contradict what I assumed.
Yep. No, I
Of
agree.
course, they will not take with my assumptions, and they don't care even. How to deal with such situations?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. If you're on a government panel, for example, you have a chance at the start to negotiate your agreement and then sign that, and that agreement then applies across any future project, which can be a challenge. I completely hear you. Governments are very inclined to actually send out tenders which say there will be no departures from this contract. Or only limited departures from this contract, and it actually does it gives you very little chance to make changes to the terms and conditions of the document itself. So in those cases, I guess you've got a few questions to ask. You can say, one, do we actually want to be involved in this contract? That's a yes no answer. Number two, can we live with what they are asking us? And that very much becomes a point where you do need to advise, as legal, you do need to advise commercial and finance the risk implications, and finance may even need to advise some of the dollar implications on accepting those particular provisions. Depending what type of contract, maybe then you might look into insuring against a particular risk. Sometimes there are chances for companies to take out insurance against risks that are a bit outside the norm, shall we say. Otherwise, yeah, when you're doing your tender response, making those assumptions is really the best way for you to scope out your potential risk, and for you to say, right, I'm assuming that you mean this, this, and this, but I'm not going to take on any risk if this happens, and you'll have to give me more money. So one of the biggest suggestions I'd give is making sure the scope of the works is clear. If your scope isn't clear, that's really where you're going to get to scope creep. And regardless of what the contract itself says, it kind of puts your company on the hook for, doing a lot more and spending a lot more than you'd originally anticipated. So those would probably be my suggestions. It is very difficult if you just get a blanket no negotiations. Unfortunately, a lot of governments do that, which is challenging.
Actually, we're IT industry, so the most important thing is the intellectual property and
yes,
working outside.
Yes,
Being to allow us to work freelancing or not to be on the site itself.
I've worked a lot in the IT industry with some big government contracts as well, and one of the most important things to do there for you is to actually have your contract managers trained in how to actually properly administer the contract. So if they can be on top of it, and if they can keep really rigorous IP registers, and make sure that they're not going outside scope, particularly in terms of IP, that sometimes can help as well.